World War I Gold Star mothers in Maryland were the people behind the building of the Peace Cross. They had it put up to honor the sons that they lost in the so-called war to end all wars. There were 49 men's names on the cross. It was later rededicated to all American veterans. Now some say that the cross does not belong in this public spot, and the Supreme Court is about to decide. Joining me now, Shannon Bream, host of Fox News at Night. Shannon, great to see you tonight. You went and spent some time talking to people around the Peace Cross. What did you learn?
Yeah, I did. It's very interesting because, as you mentioned, there are 49 names engraved on there, along with words like valor and endurance and courage. There's nothing overtly religious inscribed anywhere on that cross, but it stands in a big, busy intersection in Maryland, just outside of suburban D.C. here. And listen, a lot of folks there in the community say they have seen it for generations. It's been an honor for them to have it there, but there has been an atheist group to come forward to say, listen, it now sits on government land. It gets some government funding to upkeep the memorial, and because it's in the shape of a cross, they don't care that it's a war memorial. It doesn't work there, and it's got to go. This case has raged for years. It lands at the Supreme Court tomorrow morning on Wednesday. We want to give you a little bit of folks we talked to on both sides, one leading the group to tear it down, and a veteran who says he's going to fight to save it.
Unfortunately, the cross can't be a symbol for all. It doesn't represent our veterans who've served honorably, who are Muslim and Buddhist and Jewish, and of course of no faith at all.
For me to think of having that memorial defaced or torn down or bulldozed, I can't conceive of it. It's an insult to all of the veterans who served.
You know, it's really interesting to go see it there in person. It's been there for almost a century. It's 40 feet high, concrete and granite. And of those names, an interesting point that a lot of folks have brought up is the fact that the service was very much still segregated at that point. There were black and white troops who fought overseas, but they didn't serve together. But the people who put together this memorial, those mothers in the American Legion, thought it was very important to list them all together. There's no segregation on this memorial. They just wanted to remember all of those 49 young men that they lost in their community. So whether they get to do it with this memorial or whether the court says it's got to go, we'll know by late June. That's when they'll have a decision.
Just one last quick question. Justice Kavanaugh is going to be his first sort of religious liberty test issue that he will deal with. And it comes down to whether or not the government is showing a preference for a religion in this monument, right?
Yeah, and it's over the years, people have said this is a very muddled part of the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court because there's not a clear directive. They've decided cases on other public memorials and displays, but it's actually very hard to understand for a lot of folks. Even Justice Thomas has said it's anyone's guess what we would expect people to do. So people really want to get a clarifying rule out of this. Justice Kavanaugh has been on the side of religious liberty issues in the past, especially with respect to the HHS, Obamacare, contraceptive mandates for religious employers. We'll see how that translates here, but it sounds like even the court itself is ready to draw some lines so that people who put up these memorials or support them can have a real definition of what will qualify, because some of the things these veterans are worried about are things like Arlington National Cemetery and other places where there are symbols that an opponent could argue are religious in nature.
Shannon Bream, as always, thank you, Shannon. Great to see you tonight.